Okay, I mixed up 2 loaves of bread for today, and we are about a half hour out from the bulk fermenting process to be over. So as you can see, there are lots of bubbles on the top. There's a huge one right there, a bunch of little ones. And on this side, you will see the bubbles on the side, and it is nice and jiggly. So I know that this is all ready to do its bench rest. So we're going to spend the last half hour of the time that it needs to bulk rise, and we're going to do that as a bench rest. So I'm going to show you this process, and then I'm actually going to do 2 inclusion loaves for these. So I'm going to do a cinnamon and sugar loaf, and I'm also going to try a s'mores loaf, which I've never done before, but I'm very excited about because s'mores are like one of my favorite sweet treats. All right, it's coming out. All right, so I will show you. This is the pre-shaping that we will do here. So I am going to, since this is 2 loaves worth, I am going to grab my bench scraper, and I'm gonna kind of eyeball this because I'm not selling these loaves or anything. So I'm just gonna try to make it as even as possible. And go by feel here. So that one's got more, I think. It's pretty close. Just gonna wet my fingers a little bit. Okay, and we're gonna do the pre-shaping. Okay, so just kind of making it a little bit round, going around in a circle here, and then I'm just gonna do a slight shape, slight little pre-shape. So push and pull a few times just to get a round shape like that, and I'm just gonna plop it down. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, other one. Okay. And a little push, a little pull. Okay, and done. So I'm gonna take a tea towel, and I'm gonna cover it up. And then after a half hour, I will come back and do the final shaping. I'm going to show you how I laminate that out and add inclusions. All right, it's been about a half hour. So we are going to shape these. So I'm going to do the s'mores one first. I have mini marshmallows. I crumbled up some graham cracker pieces, and then I took Hershey bars and broke those up too. So grab it, flip it over. I'm gonna move this guy aside for a little bit. Okay, and then this is called laminating it out. So, okay, we're gonna make it a rectangle, but we're gonna kind of thin it out as much as we can so that as much of the inclusions are in each bite as we can get. Okay, so spread it pretty thin here. All right, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna we'll start with the chocolate pieces. I just measure with my heart here. I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna put the marshmallows on. I know these will not be able to be seen once they're melted in there, but hopefully that sweet taste is in there. Pretty good. Okay, and now we're gonna go in with our graham cracker pieces. I'm gonna be pretty generous with the amounts here because I feel like that's really going to add to that. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to do just like a regular loaf. We're going to take one side and fold it to the middle. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to take the other side and fold it over and kind of shove these pieces back in there if we can. And then on this top part, I'm going to put more inclusions. So I'm just going to put the rest of what I have here. Chocolate and some marshmallows. Perfection, and then the rest of my graham cracker pieces. Okay, perfect. Try to clean up my mess here. And then we're gonna roll it like a burrito and try not to make a huge mess. Okay, looks pretty good. Now, with inclusion loaves, I do not fold it in half, and I don't add a whole lot of tension, just because it will bust everywhere. It just is a huge mess. So I just kind of close up the ends like this with my fingers on both sides. And part of it might break open, and that's totally fine. This might be a little messy. Okay, and then I just do very little of like a shaping. Okay, definitely not going to be the prettiest, but hopefully it's super tasty. Okay, so I would even say that's good because I feel like we're about to bust out of there. Okay, so I'm going to stick it into my banneton. Still the same way. I'm going to flip it seam side, even though there's not really a seam on this. We're going to do seam side up. So that way, okay, that guy's going to be a big loaf of bread. Okay, all right. Now on to my cinnamon sugar loaf. So whenever I do a cinnamon sugar loaf, it will usually, it like ruins. I have tea towels that are like stained from using them in the banneton during cinnamon and sugar cold proofing. So I have learned to just use my shower cap underneath my liner for the bannetons, and that helps to keep the mess less messy on those bannetons. Because again, those you can't wash. Well, I guess you could wash this part, but you don't want to, because then you have to like be very careful for molding. So I don't wash these. I wash the liners. Okay, so lay it out again. Gotta laminate it out again. Pretty thin. And this is one of my sons. This is his favorite kind of bread that I make. Although he does like the regular more and more now too. But he loves the cinnamon sugar loaf. So I make this pretty thin again, about as much as we can. And then the trick with this one, it is going to be very messy. It's just messy. So I try to keep it away from the edges as much as possible. I feel like that helps with the messiness. So we're just going to have a little bit of graham cracker on there. Okay, we're just going to start with the cinnamon. And again, I measure with my heart. Okay, so like that's good. And then I use brown sugar. And again, I put hefty amounts of it on there. Which is probably why my loaves are so messy, but they're so good. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw a bunch of clumps down, and then I'm gonna move them around. All right, and the same idea for when we shape this. So we are going to take in the sides. Okay. Over. Actually, I'm gonna add more on this one in the middle, even though this side does flip onto there. A little more never hurt. We're just gonna add a little bit more. Okay, and fold this side over. Just kind of gonna tuck this end over here so it kind of starts to secure and not hopefully leak out too much. And then we're gonna do another round of cinnamon and sugar on the top. That's pretty good. All right, here goes. Rolling it up like a burrito. That actually worked really well. Okay, so again, not adding much attention to this. I'm just gonna pinch the cinnamon roll looking sides together. Right. Pretty good. And then we're gonna add a little bit of some push and pulls. Not much, because I don't want it to break open. These always, they're not the prettiest loaves, but they're so good. So good. Okay, so that one's got a little bulging area right there, but we're gonna go with it. Okay, so we'll just pick it up, seam side up. And then I'm gonna go back to this one and see if I can stitch it up a little bit. I don't really want to add too much tension again because I don't want it to rip. I'm gonna add a little bit to the bottom. Maybe. Go with that. Okay, and then we're gonna stick it into, we're gonna cover it, then stick it into our refrigerator, and I am going to bake tomorrow. This one I have to be very careful with because I know this is gonna rip. That sugar inside, it just liquefies almost right away. So that's why it gets so messy. So I'm not gonna do, oh, it's getting really thin right there. I'm not gonna do a whole lot. Just kind of wanna make it a bit tight. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a shower cap and put it over that one, stick that in the fridge as well, and then we will bake these tomorrow. Okay, we're ready to bake our s'mores loaf and our cinnamon sugar loaf. So the cinnamon sugar one gets super messy, so I always do 2 pieces of parchment paper and kind of angle one of them, just like that. So we'll do that one first. So I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna plop it upside down on there. This is going to get really messy when I score it too. You can already see the brown sugar and cinnamon in there. Okay, so I'm gonna find a spot that I'm hoping won't get too messy, but it's gonna spill everywhere anyways. Okay. Cut through, so there it comes. We're gonna go with that for that one. Okay, and I'm gonna take it and stick it into one of my Dutch ovens. Now this one already has lots of moisture inside of it, so my ice that I usually do in there, I'm only gonna do a few pieces because it really doesn't need a whole lot of steam in there since it has so much moisture from the sugar. Okay, so I'm gonna do that and put the lid on, cut it here. Ooh, got through a piece of chocolate. See the marshmallows in there. All right, so we're gonna call that good for that one. I'm gonna stick that one in the Dutch oven. I'm gonna add my ice outside of the parchment paper. Okay, and I'm gonna get my lid on there. These Dutch ovens preheated in my oven up to 450, and I actually, they were in there longer than it took to preheat to 450. I set a timer for a half hour, and then once that timer comes off, then I take them out, and that's when I put my loaves of bread in them. So now I will put them in the oven about 45 minutes, and I'll check them and see the internal temp and try to get it to 210 and look at the outside of it, and if it needs the lid off to make it a little more brown on the outside, we will do that. So I will be back after they are done baking. All right, I just took out the cinnamon sugar loaf. The s'mores one still had some time to go. Let me see if I can figure out how to show you. This is super messy. This is what I mean by really messy. That's why I put the 2 things of parchment paper in there. But it smells so good. Let's try to take it out without burning myself. Oh boy. Okay. Smells so good. There she is. I will try to get her off of the parchment paper. See, it's not the prettiest loaf, but wait until I cut into it and you see that swirl. And it is so, so good. So I will work on getting this off the parchment paper without burning myself and then show you. And then the s'mores one had a few more minutes, so I'll come back and show you that one as well. Okay, our s'mores loaf is out. I did not have to cook either of these with the lid off this time. The whole time was just with the lid on. The s'mores one needed about 50 minutes instead of 45, but that's it. So yeah, this one actually, it turned out pretty good. They're, like I said, they're not the prettiest loaves. The way they open up, since you can't get that shaping just right with not being able to build up much tension. But I'm very excited to cut into that to see the swirl and taste it because it smells delicious. But here is the s'mores loaf, and this smells so good too. And it is beautiful. Look at that. So pretty. Wow. I'm very excited for these to cool so that I can cut into them. I usually wait at least an hour, usually 2 or 3, to until it's completely cool on the inside. You don't want to cut it too soon, otherwise it could be gummy on the inside, and no one likes a gummy bread. Or I guess sourdough is naturally kind of a chewier bread, but no one likes gummy. So I'm very excited to cut into that one because it looks and smells delicious. But yes, that is our cinnamon sugar and our s'mores bread.